computer. Okay, ladies. So again, welcome to our bonus call here in the second module, Primal Rich. So this call is a Q&A around business. And if you choose to, you're more than welcome to come on video. I love seeing your face, Esther, wherever you are in this little spot that you're showing up in often. Is so sweet. And we're gonna move in a couple of ways here. Hi, Miss Irene. Gonna move in a couple of ways here, just depending on kind of what you're bringing forward, what you've got. If you have questions already that you've come with and you want to ask those, you can do one of two things. You can throw them in the chat, or you can come off mute and we can riff on them out loud. What I want to ask first, just to get a feel and a read on where you guys are at with this topic of business, right? We're in our second module, men, money, and the masculine. So obviously this is the money piece, right? Business questions. And I want to know, and I want to welcome you into the chat here, just what's feeling like a sticky point. What is, and I phrase this question in different ways. If there's a sticky point, if there's an obvious challenge, if you're like, maybe the challenge is like, I want to have a business and I like just literally have not made moves to do it, right? Or I've started making moves to create a business, but I'm like really confused as to like, where should I start? Like, what would be a good starting point? Or maybe you have been in the movement of your business for longer, right? Maybe you've been in it for a while. And maybe instead of a real challenge or a real sticky point, maybe it's like, Ellie, I have this vision for my work, for my business. Whether it's I have this vision of hosting this thing or running this thing or making this much money or being this financially sustainable. Is there a vision that you have that's just not moving in the way that you see it yet? Right. And so I want to just get a feel for where you guys are at here in regards to business. And you can also toss in here, it doesn't have to be a challenge. You could be like, no, I'm fucking kicking ass right now. Like, I'm doing this and this, and this is feeling really good. Yeah. So just give me a pulse check if you would. I know I said go into the chat, but I'm actually would more so love to hear your guys' voices on this. So I'm curious if anyone would be open to unmuting and just being like, this is where I'm at. This is how it's feeling. What we think. Who's going to tell me?
I'm gonna say something. Good morning. And yeah, okay, I have a big block because I offer these herbal services for people to come and get herbal medicine, and I want that service to be free. And so I have trouble charging for it, even though I know my knowledge is valuable, because I want that to just be an accessible thing that people deserve. So I get blocked on like, oh, who am I to like collect money for these things that I want to offer.
Yeah.
Mm,
Continue if you want.
no, I'll let you go.
I'm just jotting this down so that I can track this a little bit better. So you offer these herbal assessments. They're a place for people to come and get herbal medicine. Yeah. Personalized herbal medicine to what they're experiencing. And you want that to be so accessible to like everybody. And so you are like, I can't charge for this. Like, I have to make this free. Yeah. Is that the sticky? So why don't you just make them free and be fine with it? I'm like, there's something else. There's something else. If it was truly in alignment with your heart that like, yes, this should be free, I don't think you would be bringing this here as something sticky. Does that make sense? So I'm like, there's something else underneath it, whether it's you want to be a full-time herbalist. Do you want this to be your career? Is that what's sticky? Yeah. Cool. So are you open to my thought on this, Miss Irene? Yeah. I love that you want herbal medicine to be accessible. I love it. Fuck yes. It should be accessible to everybody. And herbal medicine is only accessible to anybody if herbalists can be herbalists, right? Herbalists cannot be herbalists if they're not being compensated. You cannot continue to be an herbalist if you don't have money to pay your rent and buy food for yourself, right? You lose the capacity to be able to serve. You lose the capacity to be able to give information, because now what do you have to do? You have to go work some other job, or you have to spend all of your time like trying to figure out how to get shelter and like forage all your food maybe for yourself, right? There's different ways that could go. But to me, you making something free isn't what makes it accessible to everyone. You being sustained by your work is what makes it accessible. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I think this is so, so common. And this is something I really end up speaking to a lot in the more technical business programs that I run, is that women, like, this transaction of receiving money for the services we provide, or receiving value for the services we provide, is one, ancient, right? When people are like, oh, like this rise of the female entrepreneur, I'm like, baby, what? Like, we've been entrepreneurs. Women been creating goods and services for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And we were receiving goods and services in exchange for thousands and thousands of. So this exchange is not new. But, and for women, the exchange of money for our goods and services is extremely new. 1974 was the year that women were able to move their own money, receive their own money, and have it in their own accounts. 1974. Yeah, big eyes on that, right? So this exchange of receiving money for our goods and services while receiving value in exchange for our goods and services, not new. The experience of receiving money specifically as the medium of exchange, extremely new. So I just invite you to hold both of those, that your gifts and your services, ain't never in history has an herbalist not been given value back, right? The medicine woman of the clan, of the tribe, most certainly she's getting value back. Her village built a house for her, right? Like, yeah. Yeah, your village gets to build your house for you, quote unquote. If you have a village that's like, sure, Irene will build you a house in exchange, excellent. But most likely they're going to be paying you money and you're going to build the house that way, right? But again, also I want to acknowledge and hold with you the weirdness. It feels wrong often. We're like, what? No, I could not possibly accept money for this. But it is so new for women. We are in the first or second generation, most likely for all of us, the first generation of women who have been born into being able to receive money for our services. Yeah. How's that landing for you, Irene? I'm curious.
It's hitting in a spot where I'm able to hear it in a different way, because I think I'm so partial to trading, and like that feels good because everything, I think, in some way is an exchange, unless it's very one-sided. And the money thing does feel like weird, but it's kind of like the modern language, I guess. So I'm opening, the block for a reason. So
100%. Yeah, yeah. And truly that block, I believe, is something that we're all carrying, specifically in our generation. It is so, so new to our systems, to our mental space to receive money for the goods. And I
yeah.
love that you bring in, you love trading. You love trading. You love that feeling. You love that exchange. And yeah, my biggest thing is just in the culture that we currently live in, most people don't have the service of house building to trade with you. And I bet you know a lot of people that grow food, but probably not to the extent that you can be fully fed through exchange, right? So that's just the only difference that we're existing in. I love that you're already open to that exchange. So that tells me, okay, you've done work for the block, right? You are exchanging value. But yeah, now it's just going to be getting comfortable and practiced, frankly, in charging money and knowing, okay, wow, that is okay. Okay, wow, this is just another form of value. Okay, okay, yeah. It's just going to take practice. Yeah. Beautiful. I love that question. Follow up on Irene's question, says Natalia. Do you have tips for how you price your services? I do. I do have tips for pricing my services. It's a really easy one. You ready for it? You charge what lets you feel excited to show up for whatever it is. People are like, I need to like break it down and like it should be like 300 for this. And then I'm like, if you can price something and say, ooh, I'd be hyped to show up for this price, that is the most honorable price to you and to the people that you're selling to, because you deserve to feel good about your work and they deserve to have a facilitator or a provider that's excited to be there. That's my big thing with underpricing. I underpriced. I used to charge $30 for like what ended up being an hour and a half in-person bodywork sessions, one-on-one, $30. Thinking about doing that puts kind of a hole. I'm like, ooh, that's rough. Knowing that I was showing up to those spaces already with like constriction and like, right? That's not the space that I want to be in. That's not pleasant for me, but it's also not what the people who are coming into your space, my space, to receive your work, they don't deserve that, right? They deserve someone who's excited to be there, who has energy, who has resource to show up and give them the fullness. Yeah, so that is my tip on pricing. Yeah, Amelia, what's up?
Hi. So I think a sticky point for me, because I did consistent with you, and so the identity A to identity B language and visionary language and such, I think I get so caught up in like having so many ideas. Like I get so caught up in the ideas of like, oh, I want to help these kinds of people and this kind of person, and I want to help all these people have all these transformations. But like the actual execution piece is kind of where I get like overwhelmed and shut down. And so for sure like the practice pieces of it are going to definitely be helpful for that. But when you feel like you're like really pulled in a few different directions with your ideas and like with like whatever's lighting you up, how do you really get clear? I think that's the hardest thing that I'm trying to get is like that clarity around like what is it that I want to do right now versus getting caught up in all the ideas I would love to do eventually.
Mm-hmm. So love this. So you're having so many ideas, so many desires to help so many different, maybe not different people, but to help so many people come through different kinds of transformations. Yeah, different. And for those of you who weren't inside of consistent, identity A and identity B is like the basis of your work. The basis of your work is that your work, your body of work is a movement. And your movement takes people from one place, which is where they are before they come through your body of work. And they come through it and they go on this journey and you take them to another place, right? And that's where they are at the end of your work. And the language we use here is this is identity A, where your people are before they come through your work. And then identity B, where your people are after they come through your body of work. And so this, what Amelia is touching on here with identity A and identity B specifically, this is the basis of like pretty much everything I teach business wise. I mean, I teach like the simple systems, tools, structures, whatever. Those are, you can do those in a day, but this is messaging and marketing, right? How do you talk to your people so that they're like, oh, that's me. Oh, I'm identity A. Oh, she works with people like me. And oh, she brings people here. Oh, damn, I want to go there, right? This is messaging. This is marketing. This is how you invite people in an effective way for them to be like hyped on it. So Amelia, I just want to, and you can just give me a thumbs up if this is right, or if it's not right, and come back off mute and let me know. But I'm hearing you are having all of these visions and tons of what sounds like creative energy coming through on, oh my gosh, I want to bring people on this journey from this identity A to this identity. And oh my God, I would love to bring people on this journey. Oh my gosh. And also this one. How do I execute all of these ideas? Is that kind of and it's almost like it's maybe coming through a bottleneck and it's not able to like come out all the way. Yeah.
Yeah, how to execute, and then also like how to like find that clarity of like which is the one I connect to right now, which is the one that's most, I don't know, achievable for me to do, I guess. I don't know.
So I have a few thoughts on that. I think that if you're having them, how do I explain this? You can achieve all of them. There's not one of these ideas that you have that you can achieve. To me, the execution and what I'm hearing is there's two options that you can do with all of these ideas. You can put them in one item to execute. And if you do that, and when I say one item, I mean one offer, right? So maybe you're like, I have this identity A to identity B, and this one, and this one. To me, I'm like, those are modules, right? Those are potentially modules of a single offer. So let's say you're like, Ellie, I have like 5. I have literally 5 transformations that I want to bring people through right now. I would say one of two things. Okay, you either just built a 5-module program. And my suggestion always personally, and this is just my preference, but like, let it be longer than 5 weeks. If it's that long, let it be longer, right? Where they have time to digest, time to integrate. I think we talked about that a bit. So either you just built a 5-module program and you don't have to try to execute every single one. You just package the entire thing and you say, okay, what is like the essential transformation they're going through? And do you need to boil it down to like the one thing? Not necessarily. If you can, fuck yeah. If you can find one little bit of messaging, one little bit of like, this is for people if you want this, right? If you can find one little bit of identity B that's your like, this is fucking hot, and you sell that, amazing, right? So you either just built a, let's say, 5-module offer, or instead of bundling it all into one thing and executing that one thing, right? That higher ticket thing. God, there's so much we go into. It's hilarious. You either did that, or you just built in your mind 5 different unique offers. And I can imagine that maybe if you think, oh my God, I just built out 5 different unique offers, that maybe that feels overwhelming. Yeah. So my suggestion with that, and you just get to feel into, okay, literally like body based. I know you've done somatic work. I know that you have that attunement with your body. You could say, okay, body, all these ideas, is it the one program? Is it bundling them all together and taking people through one big journey? Or are these meant to be individual offers? Okay, feel into that. Feel into how would it feel for this to be one large offer? How would this feel to be individual offers? And if your body's like, they're individual, the way that I navigate this to make it feel not super overwhelming is by running what I call intensives. The way that I let that feel okay, and this is just the way that I do it, right? You could absolutely just build out 6-week offers for each of these. To me, that would feel a little bit overwhelming. I'm like, shit, that's a lot of time, it's a lot of planning, it's a lot of modules. Like, it makes me want to like shake my arms out and be like, oh my God, my shoulders come up to my ears all of a sudden. Right? For me, what feels good and what feels achievable and what feels almost like gentler is to be like, okay, we're going to take a week. We're going to take a week to go through this particular transformation. And then I'm going to plan another one for the next month. And if I wanted to make it really not overwhelming, I would put them on my calendar. I'd be like, this is when I'm running this intensive. And then I'm going to run this intensive. And then I'm going to run this one. And my masculine and my feminine would get off on that, right? Because I'd be like, oh my God, I literally have my next 5 months of offers planned. That's so fucking sexy, right? The structure. Oh, so nice. And then inside of those 5 individual offers, I would let them be more brief. I'd let them be more gentle. I would let them be more tasters, right? I would price them lower so that that energetic exchange would feel good. I would say, yeah, how much would I want to charge to really show up for this and feel really excited for this week? And then is this feeling, I have one more thing, but is this feeling tracking good? Yeah. I would say that if, as I'm saying this, you say, okay, Ellie, but if I do those intensives, what if like they don't have enough time? You know, like what if there's just like so much more that I could give them? This is where scaling happens. And the way that you get to scale your business is by having there's so many different words for this, but like a customer journey, right? Let's call it a staircase. I actually don't call it a staircase. The way I describe it is you have rings around you, and all you're doing to scale is you're inviting people closer and closer and closer and closer into the body of your work. So these 1 week intensives where you are offering one transformation, right? Maybe it's like this week's intensive is for people who are really nervous of being in a brewery. Like they are nervous about going out on the town with their friends. They feel really awkward and they want to feel more confident just being out with their friends, right? This is just like me pulling shit out of my ass. So that's the intensive, and we're going to dive into these tools for a week. And if you like this, inside of this week, I'm going to let y'all know that, hey, if you're into this, if you're liking this work, I actually have a larger offer where we go even deeper inside of this. Yeah. And maybe you, Amelia, make one offer that's like big. You're like, this is like my 4-month fucking deep dive into all this goodness. Like I give you my magic. And every time you run that intensive, perhaps, or every other time you run that intensive or an intensive, you have an opportunity to say, okay, guys, if you liked this, let's say you paid $200 for this, you like that. I know you did. If you liked that, you actually have the opportunity, the invitation to come even closer into my body of work. Right? So you're bringing people in at this level. You're saying, here's the intensive. It's fun. It's good. They get good ass transformation, right? Because like, think about you inside of Consistent. Consistent was an intensive. Of course, you're like, yeah, I got value out of intensive or out of Consistent. And now you have the opportunity to come up into something more, right? If you choose to. That's how you scale. And that's also how you get to stay in integrity. If you say, man, I want to run this thing, I have this idea, it's right here, but I want them to go deeper. I want them to have the chance to go really deep. That's scaling. I feel like I just gave you so much probably to chew on, but how's that landing?
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm curious on that first concept of like, okay, let's say you have all these transformations. It's either one large program that you're thinking of, or it's intensives. Which one sounds better to you? Like if you just kind of sit with that, tune with that for a second.
Yeah, as you were saying it, I was doing that, and definitely I think right now the individual offers seems a little bit easier, not easier, but like more calming for my system to start with since I've never done a big program yet. And so then that way I also get like a little bit of an experience builder and confidence builder as I do those.
Absolutely. And that's fun too, because you're like, okay, yeah, the vision is clear, and those identity A to identity Bs, when they're smaller, they get to be more concise. Yeah, cool. Yay! I love that question. That's good shit. Okay. As a questions, anyone did anything come up, whether it was like another question or kind of a light bulb in any of those answers? I see Esther, you're unmuted.
I was just going to bring up a sticky point for me. I feel like I have an idea of the business I want to create, but it's that action step, or like even I still feel like the word business in my system brings up like a lot of just like, ooh, not me, like what? Like, I don't know if I can like step into that action, and then I don't want to overwhelm myself too much. So there's still just like a lot of stickiness in that part of taking that first like initial, what feels like a really big step for me.
Such a big step. Ooh, I love this. So yeah, just having the idea of the kind of business that you would want to create, And then I'm hearing two things. One, you're like, it feels like a big first step. Like, and maybe like, what is the first step? What is the entrance point? But I also hear that other piece of like the word business in your body is like, eh, me? Ew, couldn't be me. Mm-mm. Yeah. Is that sounding right on what's coming up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. So I would love if we could all just take a moment on this because I'm like, if this is not like the most fundamental piece, like this is it, right? It's can you allow your body to be in this for a second? So I just want to invite you, Esther, and anyone else that feels so inclined to just start taking a couple of breaths here. To feel yourself anchored, noticing if your hands or your feet are adjusting or settling, maybe your shoulders or shoulder blades, little refinements to your face. A solid, supple spine, letting the belly become a little softer here. And over the course of these next 2 or 3 breaths here, you're just going to notice a space in your body starting to light up a little bit more in a way that feels good. In a way that feels like it's like a strong spot or it's a solid spot for you today. Maybe it's like a bright spot. I'm feeling like my pelvis lighting up today. Oftentimes it's my feet. I'm just taking a moment to acknowledge a spot and finding that your next couple of inhales, they just kind of naturally expand the sensation here in this little pocket. That you really don't have to try to expand it with your breath. But that your natural inhales, they just naturally expand or kind of brighten or strengthen this good feeling sensation in this spot. Or just taking one more breath there. Your next exhale, the body will just settle a little bit further. And then we're going to welcome soon another spot to light up your body. And this spot, when it lights up, it's going to be in connection to any resistance or contraction your body is holding around the word business. Even around the phrase like my business. And just letting whatever sensation, no matter how subtle it is, maybe you feel it, maybe your mind's eye just goes to this spot. Maybe it's just a knowing that you have. Mine right now is my right upper arm, my right shoulder. No matter how subtle, if you find yourself questioning, is this the spot? It's the spot. I'm just taking a breath here. And then just noticing, and you can say it out loud. I'd like you to say it out loud. You don't have to be off mute. You can just say out loud, like, what is the sensation happening here? My whole right arm is just like a lead fucking weight right now. Good. And as you just take these next few breaths, you're going to notice how soon these 2 spots, the spot that holds the resistance, the tension around the phrase my business, and the spot that today's feels good, feels like a strong spot, you'll notice your breath is starting to link these 2 spots. As if your inhale came through that good feeling spot and linked up to the more tense one, and then exhale, it would just circle on back down. And as your breath just naturally does this, you don't have to work with your mind to make this happen. We're just going to let this spot know, the tense one that's holding the contraction, that it's welcome here. That you have space for it. And just letting this tension, it's just the whole right side of my body now. Know that there's nothing that needs to change. And that we're not here to change it. We're not here to make it different, not here to make it wrong, but that we actually have space for it. And you can even say out loud here, there's room here for you. You can say out loud, I have room for you. I have space for you. This spot, this tension spot, this is child consciousness, right? It's the child consciousness that says, I could not possibly do that. I have an idea, I have a vision, something's calling me, I want something, I could not possibly get it. I could not possibly have it. I could not possibly do it. And all this piece wants is to be included. So you can imagine now that this pleasant spot, a spot that feels strong, feels good, feels bright, over these next couple of breaths, it's going to start widening. And maybe you feel it, or maybe you see it, or maybe you just sense it happening, and it just starts widening and widening out to the left and right, widening this brightness out into the front and the back, widening out, widening further above and below itself, just widening, lifting and dropping down. And this bright spot, this strong spot, this spot of adult consciousness just starts to expand even further out past the edges of your body, even further out. And again, not to change the tension spot, but to surround it, to include it. I'm just going to take a few more breaths here. And if you want to continue speaking to that spot, like, I have space for you. I don't expect you to change. I don't need you to change. I don't need you to change. Good. Invitation to take 2 more big full breaths here. Gorgeous. And then in these last moments, just thanking, acknowledging the body, its wisdom, the system for showing us these spots, for revealing this information to us. And then bringing the hands to the body in any way that feels good, whether it's touch to the neck, massaging the face, rubbing the face. Yeah, hands to the chest. Yeah, so good, Esther. Good. Take one more big breath. Audible exhale. Gorgeous. And then, as always, just coming back gently, slowly to the eyes as you do. Reacclimate to your space. Take that look over one side. Opposite. So we had to do the somatic piece first. If there's any thoughts or anything that came up, feel free to toss it in the chat. Esther, are you open to me just asking like a question on like what this first step is to you?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have an idea of what the first step would be? Like in your head? When you think about like, what would the first step be?
I think it would be putting myself out there, just like letting people know what I offer. So marketing of some sort.
And like, where would you be doing that? Like, are you doing that in person? Are you doing that through flyers? Are you doing that online?
I've tried flyers before and that hasn't really worked for me. I like the idea of in person or online, but there's a lot of stickiness like in those areas for me.
Right. Of course. And there will be, right? And that's not
Yeah.
gonna, right? As we know, that child consciousness part, those sticky spots, ain't going nowhere. But I think you're spot on. And that it's just the first step is always talking about it. It's talking about it, right? And you can do that in person. And you can do that with flyers, even though if you're like, I tried it and it didn't work for me, try again. Do it again. You do something one time, you're never going to get anywhere. The first time I did shit, nothing works. The first time, for sure. And that's totally fine, right? It's totally fine. That doesn't mean anything bad. That doesn't mean anything's wrong. Yeah, but I would say I agree with you. I hear you saying, yeah, I like the idea of in person. I can see how using an online space would be impactful. I would agree with that. I think if I were you, I would make an online base. Conveniently for most people, that just means using their Instagram page as talking about their work, right? Talking about what you like to talking about what you like to talk about, right? Talking about what you wish you could talk about. Talking about the things that you envision yourself doing in the future. And it doesn't need to look profitable right away. It doesn't need to look like super crazy engagement right away. You don't need 10 million followers. I just want to give context to each of you. I have a mentor that has about 780 followers, and she has been making consistent $300,000 years for 8 years. 800 followers on Instagram. Never believe anyone that tells you that you need 1 million followers to have a sustainable business. You don't. Yeah. So that's what I agree with you, Esther. I think this first step is starting to speak about it online and in person. Yeah, I agree with you entirely. Is there anything else that's here for you right now?
I feel complete in that.
Awesome. I'm so excited to watch you do it because, woman, I'm like, you're fucking brilliant. You have a very cool and unique vision that I've heard only briefly of. And I'm like, I'm super into it. Can you please take me on a backpacking retreat? I would like that. Can I just ask also, is it related to the outdoor leadership kind of vibe?
Yeah, I want to incorporate that in with I got a certification in Dharma or purpose coaching. So I want to eventually incorporate the two together. That's kind of like a far out vision, but I want to start with the coaching and then bring in the outdoor leadership with it, maybe in outdoor settings or something like that.
Can we all just give a raise of hands of who would be interested in learning about your life's purpose outside? Yeah, same. You have 4 interested parties already. 100%. 100% response rate. It's pretty good. Yeah, babe. Double dog dare you to start talking about it online. I want to see it. Amazing. Okay. Who's up next, huh? What do we got? What do we got?
Ellie, I have so many questions for you. So give me your most concise arrows of advice and tips because I got a fucking list for you. Okay, so one of my questions, I totally forgot that you did the program of consistent. I think it's literally would have been answered in that program. But the question is, what are your favorite tools for marketing online and how do you stay consistent? Because I feel like my brain, the ADHD part of me, it's not interesting enough of a thing for me to actually put enough energy there. I love being on the back end and planning all the logistics of a retreat, all the logistics of every fucking aspect of a ceremony. I can do that. I can put a lot of energy there. And so I'm wondering, what are your tips for staying consistent in one area that's boring? Besides just expanding my adult consciousness that doesn't want, that will show up when I don't want to.
I got you.
Is there any other just practical tips that you have for that?
Yeah, I got it. Ready? One of my mentors calls this pulling a cord or pulling a thread in marketing.
Okay.
The essence of it is land on one sentence one line, like literally a one-liner for anything you offer. So like you ran or are running, I don't know if it's done, Ember, right?
Mm-hmm.
You land on one line for what Ember does, right? Like light your Eros on fire. Let's say it's that.
Mm-hmm.
Your one line is all the marketing. You do not have to create any new marketing, and you're a ritualist. I hear that. You're like, I will do the fuck, I will go to the ends, fully engaged on the fucking ritual, right? On the ceremony, on the creation itself. Let that be the ritual. Like, you're like, I don't fuck around online. I show up and I say the line. I say, welcome to Ember babies. You about to light your eros on fire, right? Or you're about to light your eroticism on fire. That's it. You do not have to make it complex. And the one line actually makes it easier and more interesting and more palatable to your people. Because the thing that makes people buy is understanding and familiarity.
Right.
You saying the same thing over and over, even though people are like, isn't that terrible? Like, I need to like make this like more complex. I'm like, do not. One line.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Love it. Wonderful. Wonderful marketing strategy. One fucking line. Got it.
Let it be a one
In
line.
the bank. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this goes along with the last question. So like building and maintaining a client base without, I don't want to do the email thing. I don't want to do the email thing. Like I don't want to create value and like consistency and whatever. Like I don't know. I have like a big ass email list, but I don't know how to stay in touch with them in a way that's like even slightly engaging for my brain.
Okay. So you want to nurture your audience. That would be like the marketing tool, like nurture your audience, nurture your
Yes.
people. But you're like, I don't want to fucking
I
write
don't
emails.
bored. Yes.
How would you want to engage with them? That sounds like, is it like, oh, I would want to like be in ceremonial space with them?
Yes. Yes. The thing I would imagine, I guess now that you're asking me that particular question, is like having some type of ceremony that's just like a consistent thing, like once a month thing, where it's like a free offering for my people on my email list or something like that. So I guess I never asked myself that question. Thank you, Ellie.
You're welcome. Like, that's a good idea. And then you don't have to fuck around. You say, hey, you know it's time.
Yeah, I don't want to, I love reading your emails. I think it creates value. I just don't want to fucking do it. So, okay.
Don't do it.
I'm gonna cross that one off my list too.
Perfect. Good.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So next one. What is your favorite way to receive feedback and improve your business for your clients?
My favorite way to receive feedback and improve my business for my clients is at the beginning of offers, especially ones that are deep and higher touch. It's like I just started Instinct yesterday or a couple days ago. Sending a voice memo and being like, yo, I am a human being. We're going to get agitated with each other inside of here. I'm probably going to do things that piss you off. You guys are probably going to do things that piss me off. Like, we might get in like little fights, right? And like, if that happens, here's the process that we use, right? And then I give them a template for clearing charges. So for me, like the feedback forms and like, please give me a testimonial. Honestly, I fucking hate that. I don't know if I've ever used a testimonial that someone has given me, not because they're not beautiful and kind, but I'm like, these are just like contrived. And I'm like, give me it. And they're like, dur, dur, dur. So for me, real-time feedback. And real-time feedback, my favorite kind is the stuff that comes from like, Ellie, I'm annoyed at this. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's fucking talk about it. Right. The charge clearing prompt is like, this is the charge. The charge is saying this. I'm judging you for being a piece of shit, whatever it is. The responsibility that I take for the charge is this, right? I'm always wanting to prompt my clients to take responsibility for shit that's coming up for them as well, even if it's just part of it. So that's my favorite way to receive feedback, is like real-time conflict resolution inside of my programs. And that happens because I say, this is going to happen and I want you to come talk to me about it. Let me know.
That's amazing.
That's
I, for one, love my fucking feedback at the end. I'm
Yeah.
like, give me my feedback. I love listening to it. I always have a prompt that's like, what was your least favorite thing? I love listening to those. I don't think I've really used them, but I don't know. I think that it is helpful for me to just get like a recap on how things went.
You're saying listening. Do you have people send you voice memos?
Yeah.
That's a fucking great idea. I'm gonna write that
I,
down.
because I just feel like you can understand them way better when they're speaking and they're like, yeah, I don't know. And you're like, that, you didn't like that. And you don't want to tell me.
Okay, I get to respond. Okay, I love that. Brilliant.
Wait, let me see. Because I think you answered some of my other questions in your answers for other people. Yeah, I think that's it then. Actually,
Yum. Yeah,
thanks for that.
you're so fucking welcome. Thanks for those questions. I love them. I'm excited. I hope that I'm on your email list. If I'm not already, I'm going to be because I want to come to your free ceremonies for sure. Yeah, Amelia.
So, when it comes to creating systems to help support yourself, my curiosity lies like, what are the most important systems that you've created to like help you organize and execute at a level that you want to?
One of the most important systems I've created that let me create and execute in the way that I want to. What a good question. The most important systems. So I sent you guys system or structure on this one. I'm gonna go ahead and say that those are a little bit interchangeable. I sent you guys a audio recording in our chat around my Mondays. This one sounds kind of silly, maybe, and it sounds not very technical, but like I don't take live calls with clients and I don't do live calls for programs on Mondays. That day is the day that runs my business, even though it doesn't really look like it, even though I'm not in live sessions and whatnot. Having a work day, that is we're going to call it a queen day, because like half of the time I'm talking to my sisters and like having cacao and like laying in the backyard, but the other half of the time I'm ideating, I'm being really creative. A lot of creativity comes through those days. I'm planning, I'm doing like admin stuff, I'm selling in my DMs, like I'm having those conversations with people. So having a day that structurally has no live calls creates a fuck ton of space for the other things that necessitate or that are needed to have live calls, right? You need to be selling, you need to be connecting with people in your DMs, you need to be ideating, you need to be softening and fucking laying on the ground so that like the vision can channel through you, right? So system wise, systematizing my days, my workday like that, huge. I want to give you one more. Most important system lets me execute in the way that I want to. I actually first want to ask, like, is that making sense? Does that make sense as a system?
Yes, it does. I also was curious about if there's any like technical like software type stuff too. Like I was also kind of curious on both sides of that spectrum. And so wherever your mind goes with that, I'm about it.
When you say software, are you talking like, do I use like Evernote to like track shit, or okay?
I have no idea. I have some software that I use, but I know that there's certain things that I probably am missing. And so things that I am just like that just fall to the wayside because I don't have systems to like keep on top of them.
Got you. So execution comes with time. I'm going to say that first and foremost. Me executing anything 3 years ago took probably 3 months. I can execute the same thing that I executed in 3 months in a day today. That's just fucking time. There's no system that helped me do that. The system that I love, the pretty much only piece of technology that I use in my back end for where I'm at now is my website holder, which is Squarespace. And I fucking love this system because it holds everything else for me. All of my emails, all of my emailing is through Squarespace. All of my billing, right? I have a Stripe account that I connect to my Squarespace. So all of my billing goes through Stripe. I love having one cohesive system provider, software provider that I can do everything through. To me, Squarespace is the fucking best because it's inexpensive in comparison to other platforms that host everything. I pay maybe $500 a year for everything that I use through here. The other big system that holds like a software piece that holds all the systems is Kajabi, minimum $2,000 a year. So that is my other system. But also I just really want to note that like, yeah, when you get to the size and you're scaling and you have a fucking team to do shit for you, like surely they will come in with their own software that they have and that they love. You don't need that many systems. You need an email. You need somewhere where you can meet virtually, likely Zoom, right? Google Meet is free. And you need a way to get paid. And that could literally be a PayPal link. That could literally be your Venmo handle, right? For me, it is using Stripe, connecting Stripe to my bank account. You don't pay for it, but they take a little chunk from everything that you use. I'm like, cool, fucking, I don't have to charge people anymore. I just send them a link. Does that make sense? You need an email, place to meet, way to get paid. That's pretty much it. Natalia, follow up. What does selling in your DMs look like? I can imagine you do this in a very authentic way. Yeah, and it's gotten more authentic as I've practiced. At first, I was like, ew, I hate this. Selling in your DMs can look a handful of different ways. The first business coach that I worked with was like her big thing was cold DMing, literally finding people's accounts, feeling out if they would vibe with her work, and DMing them and being like, yo, I just want to say that I think you're really cool. I think your content's awesome. And I'm excited to be connected. The worst cold DMs are when people are like, hi, do you want to buy my thing? And you're like, no, who the fuck are you? Right? Ew, go away. So her process of cold DMing, much better, right? It's a slower process. It's kind of courting her people. Oftentimes inside of the DMs, for me at least, I had tried cold DMing. I had a VA cold DMing with this woman like through a program of hers for a while. I have made $200 on all of that work that VA did. And I'm like, that's just not my flavor, right? That's going to be some people's vibes. It's not going to be some other people's vibes. For me, the way that I like to sell in the DMs is to make friends. It's to make friends, right? It's to make friends and to the best of my ability, communicate with those people in a way that like builds a genuine like connection and then lets me understand if they would actually want the services I provide. This might happen through questions. This might happen through like polls in my stories. And if they respond in a particular way to a poll, I might be like, what's up? Or like, oh, hey, I see you responded in this way. Is this something that you're like into, or is this something you're struggling with, or is this something that you want? And then something that I really like to do is offer free content, offer free value. This is such a basic thing for sales, but like for you, Natalia, maybe it's these monthly ceremonies, right? These monthly ritual spaces where you're inviting people into. That experience is you getting a feel for them and them getting a feel for you. And then just naturally, as you continue to talk about your offers over and over and over, as you let your people become familiar with your work, familiar with what it is you do, familiar with who you fucking love to work with, familiar with the place that you bring them, it's the identity B, your relationships will continue to be like, oh, I would love to experience your work. I would love to experience your work. It's just a very natural progression. I know that was a super long answer of what selling in the DMs looks like. Yeah, but it's touch points. It's okay. The last thing I'm going to say, if you ever get a follower, I try to do this. Sometimes I don't get to all of them, but like when somebody follows you, I love to like go onto their page and check it out, check out their vibe and be like, yo, what's up? I just saw your name and I just wanted to say, hey. And I thought this post, like if I actually think some post of theirs was cool, I'd be like, this was fucking dope. I love that. Right. So almost treating your online space like a literal room. And if somebody walks into your room, like if you were hosting a circle and somebody walks in, you'd be like, hey, welcome. Like, I'm excited you're here, you know, come sit down, have some tea, chill. Yeah. Yeah. That's how it feels most authentic for me. Definitely. Okay. Well, that was fun. Thank you so much for all of your questions, y'all. It is 12:06 and I have to pee and then I've got some other calls this afternoon, but I want to just again say thank you so much for bringing questions. I love that so much. And we have a questions thread inside of the chat, so you guys are welcome to continue dropping in there. We are on next Tuesday as we enter our 3rd month together, which is crazy. Yeah, I'm going to be on retreat this weekend from Thursday to Monday. So I will be likely out of the chat on Friday, but keep it coming in there. Keep those maturity moves. I want to give another high five to Irene for tracking the resistance. So mature of you. And yeah, I love y'all. See you in the thread. Okay. Ciao, darlings.